Hi, this is Graham, and this is the second tutorial on the Publishing Management System, PMS. And in this tutorial, we're going to show you how to use the Master at Ownership feature. Now, Master at Ownership is designed to protect your clients from other sales reps selling into them. So basically, once you sell a client into the publication, they are yours, technically speaking, they are owned by you, and the period of ownership typically is 12 months. So no other sales rep can sell to them during that period, and the system will actually lock it out. So I'm going to click on it and we'll go into a bit more detail. So obviously we just click right there and it will bring up the Master at Ownership. Inside here is every single customer that has ever sold into a magazine for Peach Media. So it's quite an extensive database. So the idea is you find a client that you would like to sell to in your magazine. Your first port of call before you contact them is to have a look into the Master at Ownership list to make sure that no one owns that client in your division. And then if there's no ownership, obviously you can go right ahead and sell. If there is ownership, you move on, because if you were to actually sell that client over the top of an existing sales rep, and you get the sale, that sale will default to the person that actually owns the client. So you could be doing a lot of work for someone else. So it's very important that you check this system. So I am going to check for, let's say, I'm going to sell to India Tourism. So I might start with a very broad search, and I'll search for tour. Okay, quite a lot there. I might increase it to tourism. That's refined a bit, and I can see them there, but I'm just going to go that extra mile. I'll just do Ind, and there's India Tourism. Great. I can see here that absolutely no one owns them, so whatever ownership was in place has expired. They are free to be sold. While we're here, we might as well just click on them, give you a bit of an insight into what is actually recorded. So this is the details. India Tourism, it was Vishnu Dharam was the authority for the last sale, and his position was IT media consultant. There's all their address details and so forth. Now you might be dealing with someone different. That's fine. Rep ownership. Okay, it looks like there's no rep ownership across the board there, so that just gives you a more detailed explanation of the ownership. Sales history. And okay, looks like they were sold quite substantially into the retiree. Last sale December 2011, so they would have been owned in retiree, and that's the division there, no longer. Okay, so they're free to be sold. Now if you were to create the sale, you'd go into there, but we'll worry about that in another tutorial. For now, we'll just focus on that. So as you can see in our last tutorial, we mentioned about opening new pop-ups in tabs. That's how that looks. So nice and clean. So we'll just go back. We'll go back to our Master at Ownership. I want to show you a few other features. Now we're going to pretend that I'm working in education. So I am going to type education for Education Matters. And there we go. You can see either they were sold into the division, publication has the name, or their name had education in it. So it will just return anything that had anything to do with education. So we might want to see what Seamus sold. We can add Seamus, and now it will show us anything with the combination of education and Seamus. Alternatively, if you want to see everything except Seamus's good work, you can put a minus sign in front of his name, and then it will show everything to do with education that doesn't have Seamus in there. And we can do this, and you can elaborate further. So it's quite a powerful search engine, this one. And now that's got rid of Daniel. And we could get rid of Helen, and so forth. So you can keep refining your searches through there. Now there is quite a few people that do own clients in education. Most of these people have now left us. However, so there's technically no one owns them. However, you do need to speak to your team leader before you pursue one of these, because obviously we want to make sure that it's done in a fair and equitable manner. So I think your team leader will be handing those out. Now, one last thing I'd like to show you in this tutorial, and it's very important. Actually, there's two extra things, but we'll do this one next. If you see a client grayed out like this, that means their account has been frozen. Now, there can be a number of reasons for that. One is that someone has created a duplicate card, which I'll explain in my next don't do. But we've occasionally had people who have created a second card. The client already has a card, a second one's been created. Sometimes we can delete that instantly, other times we just have to deactivate it. I'll go into that a bit further in a few minutes. So that's one possibility for the frozen. The main one, though, is that they are on stop supply. They have either defaulted on their previous sale, they may be on a payment plan at the moment, and we're just frozen them just to make sure they get themselves out of trouble, or they could be a problem customer that constantly disputes sales and that sort of thing. So if you call up a client and they're grayed out, it doesn't mean that you can't sell them. What I'd recommend is have a word to your team leader. Your team leader will probably contact myself or Abby. We can provide further details on why that customer has been grayed out. Sometimes we hold them in grey, we freeze them even after they've paid for a while. We just want to keep an eye on their account. We've got the ability to credit check them, make sure they haven't folded. So just give us a holler. We'll look into it, we'll make a judgment call, and we are the final decision on that one, but we try to, obviously we want the sales as much as you do, so if we think the client will be okay, we'll unfreeze them and you can put the sale in. Now finally, just what I was talking about a minute ago about creating a duplicate card. That has happened in the past. The system actually is not designed to stop duplicates because it's quite simple to get around that. You could create Vulcan Coatings here, for example. You could do Vulcan Coatings Proprietary Limited or Vulcan Coating. The system just can't tell. But when you do create a new advertiser, there is a great big warning here warning you to make sure you have thoroughly checked the master ad before you create a new client. Reason being is if you create a duplicate card, I'm going to probably ring you quite sternly, tell you you've done a bad thing. If you put the sale through, we will cancel that sale. You will have to advise your client of why it's been cancelled. You will have to redo the sale on the original card. You will have to get the client to reconfirm the sale. And it's just a pain for everybody. It's unprofessional looking to the client, it's wasting your time and it's wasting our time, and there's no gain for it. So please just be very thorough when you're looking through the master ad ownership list. And if you're dealing with companies that tend to deal in abbreviations, like for example BOC gases, type BOC. Now I know there's two there, but they are two different divisions. But if it didn't come up, do B.O.C. Just be really thorough, make sure you've exhausted your avenues, and that's why it's always good to start with a very broad definition, and if you come up with too many, then you can start to filter down a bit. But yeah, it's very, very important that you do check thoroughly, make sure that the client doesn't already have a card in here, and obviously, as I said, if they are grayed out, there is a good reason why. Contact your team leader, who'll contact us, and we'll be able to give you some advice on whether we think it's okay to unfreeze them, or we'll explain to you why they were frozen in the first place. Okay, so thank you for listening. There'll be more tutorials to follow.